Can you please just find my daughter?
I need to see this video for myself. We need to make sure this is our daughter.
Yes, that's why I'm here.
Hey guys, we have Miles Barnum today. Miles has played a very important part in Trap, and he's going to give you the experience. But more than that, I think he's going to speak to you guys about how this topic has affected him, how it has moved and changed parts of his life.
So a lot of what I learned was during the process of filming, discussions with EJazz along the way and other people on the film, and also beyond doing this film and being a part of this film, I've become much more educated about the topic and have realized the importance of making this film and realizing that there's not enough art being done where we're exposing this awful thing that happens. And so I'm very thankful to be a part of it. And I'm also thankful that when art can change us and impact us to where we become more educated, and then we have the opportunity to educate others, which is my hope as an actor for this film, is that the audience will become more educated and aware. And if just one person is saved, one child, one human being is saved by somebody being more educated, where you can intervene and step in, we will have made a magical film if that happens.
Why don't we like to speak about this? Because the more we speak about it, the more awareness we bring to this, the less hopefully it's going to happen.
Not long after Trap, that next summer, I was asked to play a role. The character is named Uncle Peck in a very well-written script, Pulitzer Prize-winning, Tony Award-winning script called How I Learned to Drive by Paula Vogel. And I got to experience what it was like to be the uncle who was grooming a young girl, became a teenager, and it follows in flashbacks and all kinds of sequences this young girl through the point where she becomes 18, and you see how the relationships shifts. And what I learned about this was that this is much more common, sexual abuse and trafficking, than anybody wants to believe. And another thing that I experienced, we would do talkbacks after the shows. And the way in which we portrayed my character, we didn't have him be a villain that everybody could recognize as, oh, look out for this guy. He was a normal guy. He was written that way, but also the way we portrayed him was the way in which people who are devious or doing things that are completely inappropriate are sometimes just can hide in plain sight. And so when we did our talkbacks, the audience, some of which who were victims themselves of sexual abuse, felt very comfortable not only asking questions and sharing their experiences, but also coming up to the actors and telling us about their experiences, or sending messages online and saying, hey, this happened to me, this happened to me. And so by doing these projects, we end up allowing the victims to have a space to be able to share. And so as an actor, I feel, other than being an empath and being able to talk to them, I feel like I'm not professionally prepared to be able to be in that situation. However, by doing this, people have a place to share. And the main reason, to go back to your original question, the main reason I think people don't want to talk about it is because they're afraid of what they don't know. And it's a dark, unknown thing that they don't know a lot about. And so we push it off into the corner. We want to pretend that it doesn't exist. I talked to people who had family members that were committing, multiple sisters that were being raped by their father, and multiple instances where people were being, taken advantage of throughout their entire childhood. And so it's uncomfortable for people to think about that and to talk about that. And so I think it's our job as artists to lean into the uncomfortability and be open to these dialogues with people like that, and to share films like this so that not necessarily we make the audience uncomfortable, which they will be and they should be, but so that the audience walks away going, how can I be less numb to this and ignorant to it? So by watching this and being involved in this, we become more educated, and we can actually do something about it, and we can change the world through being educated.
I was frustrated after meeting this girl, and I didn't know what to do as a person. And then I just, sat down, I spoke with my wife, and I'm like, what the only thing I can do is to do what I do best. I'm an artist, so why don't we create? So we created this. But now I'm seeing, after creating this, Miles, everybody keeps saying to me, why did you make a film like this? I'm not going to watch this film. Ejaz, why are you making this? We're not going to watch it. And I keep saying to them, why? And they say, because it's, so dark. But I said, that's the reason why I'm making the film, is because people like you should watch it. Because before I made this film, I was ignorant, just like you are. And do you see that I have grown horns on my head? I haven't, right? So I have gone through this for 4 years. I've studied and learned about this horrendous crime that happens in America. It happens all over the world. It hasn't changed me where I'm looking different, but at the same time, it's made for you guys to know, just the way I know now, that it happens. And it's the more we are aware as a society, the better actions we're going to take to avoid something like this.
By taking on roles like these, we are helping to educate people. We are helping to show that this is what happens, and this is how the protagonist experiences this. And then we can go, oh my gosh, as an audience, I feel for that person. I want to change this. And I think Trapped is a film that absolutely needs to be seen. People, we as artists need to make sure that people see this film. And the people that say that they're uncomfortable, not only do we need to encourage them to see it, but bring people with to see it in theaters. Bring people with to sit in your living room and hold your hand while you watch it, so that you can learn more, so that you can change the world. I mean, that's what we're doing as artists. We're finding ways in which we can change the world. And this topic is something that needs to be leaned into, not something you can walk away from.
Have you known anyone who has been sexually abused or trafficked?
I unfortunately know of a lot of instances where there was abuse happening in my extended family, close friends that I know, and in one instance where it was women being abused throughout their entire childhood, and it was not spoken of for decades, you know. And to this day, it's something that even in that instance where the father in this case went to prison, eventually it took for one of the children to become a young woman, to get into a sexual relationship with a boyfriend, and all of a sudden for these things to get exposed and come forward. And pretty soon now all of these, you know, dark things and dark secrets get exposed. And so learning about that secondhand, I and other people involved still don't want to talk about it because it's so uncomfortable. But imagine what these people, young people often, and throughout their whole lives have to deal with, because it's such a tragic circumstance that will stay with you for your whole life. And so going back to how can we change through this? Instead of being afraid to talk about it as Miles, to be open to talk to your family members or close friends and say, I'm here for you. I'm willing to talk to you about this if you want to talk about it, you know. And I think that's where I think I have been changed by this, is because I said I'm going to lean into my empathy and care for people that I know, rather than being afraid to talk about it. And so I think we get changed as human beings by doing certain things like this.
What can we do to make this a normal subject to speak about in homes?
When the Me Too movement really it took center stage in our culture, a lot of people felt comfortable coming forward because with numbers with numbers of people going through things, we as a society grow stronger. And so I think what we need to do is we need to encourage people to share their stories.
I want to thank our community for all the support you've given to our family during this difficult time. We appreciate your prayers and your messages. If you have any information about Brooke's whereabouts, please come forward. We are offering a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to Brooke's safe return. Brooke is our whole life. With your help, we can become a family again. Thank you.
We need to encourage people to share, whether that be privately in a counseling setting or in the people they trust with their partner or parents or whatever. But I think, trauma begets trauma. And so when you don't help the person who's gone through it, there's always the chance for that being repeated in future generations. So it's not just about exposing what's happening now. It's about helping the people who have gone through all of these things and letting them know that you did nothing wrong. This is not a you issue.
How do we stop the victims to feel that they were at fault?
Gender does not discriminate with these kinds of acts. And I think for young men especially, it can be hard to talk about these things, regardless of their sexuality. But I think sometimes it can be difficult to come forward and talk about these things. And like you were saying, to come forward to mom or dad or your uncle or aunt or grandma and say, this happened to me. And they say, oh, wait a second. We don't want to talk about this, or please don't say anything about this to anyone, because we don't want anybody to think that you are like something. And it's like, the person's like, I am not like anything. I was a victim and I'm coming to you because I need support. I need help. And so we need to educate those ignorant and, quite honestly, just judgmental, not nice people into saying your job is to love that person and to tell them it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You don't deserve to feel this way. And we love you and we are there for you no matter what. And I think I'm after doing this film, being able to be a part of this, I realized this is so important. This story is so important to be told. And I'm shocked that more films aren't made about this. Hopefully our film encourages more people to do a deeper dive into this.
Why doesn't a bigger, huge company like Warner Brothers or Sony or Paramount make a film like this? Because when you are so successful and so big, you do have responsibilities, and maybe that could be a responsibility of such a huge company to do something, because then everybody will get to watch it. Our film is small. We're doing everything possible to do the marketing and to show the world that we did this and so on and so forth. But I am still limited to a certain amount. Warner Brothers makes a movie like this, everyone in the world's going to know about it. And everyone's awareness is going to get better. And then everyone is going to be a little bit more conscious. So I don't understand why they don't make more movies to not just entertain, because our film is entertaining and you get to learn something, you get to know something.
Yes, there are independent filmmakers like yourself that are trying to expose topics and educate people. But if you're talking about the bigger studios, bottom line, if something is not going to likely make money, they will shy away from it. And as per your comment from earlier, the audience is afraid to watch something with this subject matter. Therefore, it's harder for them to sell. So it's this paradox. It's like, how do we solve this issue when, one, people aren't willing to make it, and two, people aren't willing to watch it? This is why Trapped exists. This is why it has to start somewhere. And hopefully, my hope with this, Ijaz, and I do not play any role in this. This is, obviously on you and the production team. But my hope is that people will watch this, and then they will tell somebody else, and then they will tell somebody else. And more people will watch it because of things like this discussion, saying, this is important. And then other people will be educated and be like, you should watch this because this is a big deal. This is a major issue in our society, and we can do something by learning. We learn by experiencing. as a theater goer, as somebody sitting in our living room going, oh my gosh, you know, my life has been changed by watching this film, and that's one of my hopes with it as an actor being a part of it.
It's like letting the victims know that they're not alone. That is the reason why you make a film like this, because they may have more strength to speak about it
Yeah.
after this and before this film. If you found out that someone was being abused, would your actions be different before, or would your actions be different after?
I think I would be more educated as far as what to look for in society, as far as, like you said. And we have a civil responsibility, I think, to keep the peace, to protect innocent people. In the situation with somebody, you know, sharing something like this, I feel like I'm armed more with resources, going, okay, now I know there's a broader scope as far as getting help for you. Before, I would have given a more generic answer. Now I feel like the resources that we can access through the people we know through this film, we now have much more opportunity to help somebody that might share these things in the future. So I mean, it's being a part of this film absolutely has changed me and changed my perspective, and gave me, it really helped me going forward into doing that other project, where, you know, it encourages you to go down a journey that is difficult and going, you know what, I know it's not going to be fun to you know, be in the shoes of somebody who is a predator or somebody who is an abuser, but by walking that path, I can just help one person by genuinely telling the story. And I think Trapped kind of gave me that courage to say, you know what, it's okay. Even if the audience looks at you in a judgmental way, even if it's a little awkward in a talkback. I was very shocked when people came up to me and said, you reminded me of my abuser, but not because you were so evil, but because you carried him in a way that was believable, that was genuine, that was like a normal person. And I had people hug me and say, thank you for telling my story in a way that allowed me to feel like I am seen. And people wanted to raise their hand and say, thank you. They wanted to say, this happened. And I think that's what we need to do through this, is give people the courage, you know, and the encouragement to speak up and to find other people. Because what happened was, somebody shared, and then another person shared, and then another person shared, and all of a sudden it's power through numbers. You know, like you experienced with victims. It's like, wow, all of a sudden you have dozens and dozens and hundreds of people that feel comfortable talking to you because you come to them lacking judgment. You come to them saying, I want to help you. And I think that's where we're at with this.
Tell me about your experience of doing research for Trapped.
I was surprised and shocked about some of the things that I did not know and some of the things that I had not been exposed to. And so I went, okay, I need to clock that and then say, how can I be more educated? How can I be more aware? It also saddened me a lot, just, you know, as a human being, just like reading more about that and seeing these things that were happening. And I kind of had to close the book a little bit on that part of the research, because as a parent of one of the children involved in this story, I felt like it was not necessarily important for me to understand the depths of this world, because in this small town in North Dakota, my character wouldn't have known a lot about what's going on. I would have been as ignorant as many people. So like I said, by being in it, I learned more from talking to you, talking to other people in the cast, and then even beyond the film, I feel like it inspired me to keep researching, to keep talking to people, to learn more. And yeah, I just think, and I think even going forward now, once this film is released, once people get a chance to watch it, myself and others will continue to learn from it, because it will be uncomfortable to watch. But how do we encourage people to lean into their uncomfortability so that they can change and they can affect change in the world, which is anytime I get an opportunity to be a part of any kind of artistic project, my primary goal is to affect positive change in the world, which is why films like Trapped are vital to do. And I'm very thankful that you're doing this film and that I got to be a part of it.
Would you do a film like this again? And if so, why?
Not only would I do a film like this, I would be more comfortable now leaning into any kind of a role, regardless of how difficult it is, because I realize that everybody's piece of this story is important. You know, as somebody who is on the side of one of the victims, what I had to bring to the table was a level of what would it be like if I were in this situation? And that's something I can bring to the table. Now, without having experience on the other side, I think I would be inspired to take on any kind of role within this type of world because it's important to tell the story. And I think the reason why is because by doing these things, us as artists, that's how in our world we can affect change. That's how we, you know, if one like you said, if one predator or one abuser or one person that's going to commit acts like this is discouraged because as a society we become more educated and as a society we become more civil. You know, it's a responsibility as a society to be civil, to keep the peace. And one of the ways in which we can do that is to constantly be on the alert and to protect the innocent. You know, that's right now we're in a movement in our culture and, you know, in the world, but in our country specifically, to protect people from, you know, people like this. And so absolutely, I would lean into it versus going away from it. And I would lean into the idea of encouraging people to watch this, encouraging people to be, you know, how can this, you know, how can this change your life as a father, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a friend, to go, oh, wow, now I can see that my niece is really having a tough time. Could there be something else? Maybe I should ask her questions, you know, because family members and close friends can spot things with people that are going through difficult situations, abusive situations, or relationships like we see in the movie where people are going away from something comfortable within their family and being pulled into another world.
Miles, thanks for giving us your time again and helping us out with with telling the story of Trapped. And we really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ijas. Thank you for taking the time to do this.